Barbell hip thrust. We have a ton of options available to us where I can pull the barbell over top of my body here. No elevation from the plates itself or the bar or from my butt. I can stick a pad underneath the butt, but we'll show those off later here. I'm in a position where the bar is able to pass over my body, given the size and length and the size of my legs here. As I bring my feet in now, my back is still flat against the pad.
If you love this video, be sure to click right here to see the full version.
I'll be in a position where now this is starting to be positioned across my hip crease, and I can feel a little bit of pressure there. So I may not be able to walk my feet in all the way without feeling so much pressure. It'll be a little bit more challenging coming up from a deficit from the bottom part of that movement, in which case I may want to add any kind of a deadlift pad or that underneath the glutes just to lift myself off. So from the amount of pressure across from the hip crease there, I may want to use a hip thrust pad just to help to support that pressure for us there. So we'll position the pad underneath. Now knowing that I have the increased size across the barbell as well. So now this is going to provide a little bit more pressure. It's going to be even more challenging now to bring my feet in towards the glutes. So we're feeling the pressure across the hips a little bit sooner. I'm not going to be in a great position to hip thrust from here, but I will come up from the thrust and just adjust my feet at the top of the movement. So I want to make sure that my grip is solid, that's going to be locked in. So I'll position my grip tight at the bottom part of the movement. I'm still going to thrust up. Now from the top part of the movement, I'll just walk my feet in so I know that they'll be positioned underneath my knees. Again, the top part of the movement, we're getting the lockout from the glutes and the hamstrings, not from overextending the back. From the hip extension, not the back extension. We're still getting that strong hinge on the way down. We're still locking in the grip. So moving into some of our other options that we were talking about, I can position this pad underneath my glutes here. So this will be an increase for the 2 inches here. So now I'm in a better position. I'm a little bit taller to start off with. I don't have to worry about coming out from a deficit, the bottom part of that movement, and with my butt on the ground. I have an extra 2 inches now to help assist with that. We're still using the pad. You notice I also elevated the plates off from those same 2-inch deadlift pads. It's important to note from the side here that I know that this is in a position where when I roll this off, that this is aligned with my hips. So I know the pads will be in a position where as I roll that off, they're going to drop evenly, and I'll be positioned in a spot across from the hips. This will give me that kind of wedge, that support coming up from the bottom. Again, now with that increased elevation with the butt pad and the thruster pad itself, this is as close as I'm walking in my feet outside of me pulling my legs closer with my hands. Even still, I'm a little bit more pinned from the bottom, but my back's in a nice position against the pad. We're locking in that grip. I'll position feet underneath the knees, and now everything stays the same. What's nice about this option here is that now I'm in a position where I can take the tension off the legs and I can roll it off on top, and now we can be down here for longer during the sets. When I am using these deadlift pads off on the side here, it's important to know this distance in between the actual collar and the plate itself. I'll position the pads in relation to the hips where that when I pull this off the pads, both sides will drop at the same time, but I know that this will be positioned across the hips because I've accounted for the distance between the plate and the collar here for where I set this up. If I start off with this too far forward, it's great to have for that dismount. I'm done. I can roll the weight off me, finish the set. If I start off too close and I'm trying to roll off with this drop, I can lose that alignment in the bar where now I'm more aligned off to my right, so I'll have to reposition the bar. So that just helps to give us a little bit more of an anchor, more security in with that position tight. Last option that we have available to us is kind of using these wood runways we were constructed just to elevate that a little bit more. Now give us more of a option for a setup where now I can roll the bar on and off me a little bit easier. So I have this available to me to position that off the hips. But now you can see I have this gap away from my hips and away from the bar to start off with, even when I have the support for this. This is a great option to take off the stress from the hips, from the bottom part of the movement, whether I'm in a deficit or not, with the pad underneath the butt. Even when I walk my feet in, I'm in a position where I'm still not going to get contact until I'm maybe about like a quarter of the rep in off the ground. Still going to be a great option, maybe available for some of your heavier sets as well. Just understanding that you're going to be getting more strength just from the top part of the movement, and it may restrict a little bit for the range of motion. This is also a great option available if you're going to be, if you're a little bit taller as well, or just with the way that your body is shaped, to position yourself under a little bit easier. This might be a great option for you. I'm still locking in the grip so that when I make contact with the bar here, this would be the bottom part from that movement. We're still getting the thrust, the lockout to the top. I'll still walk my feet in underneath the knees. So now we have that end limit range. So it's important from this standpoint not to let the hips drop off the bar. So I'm still keeping full tension. I'm still driving up even though I've made contact with the platform. Now we're in a position where we can slide down, and it's a lot easier to move the bar on and off us. One of the other options available to us for the hip thrust, which is a great alternative, I can just go bands alone. I can go bands with the bar, any other implement that I'm using. We can go bands with any kind of weights in the form of plates on the end of our barbell as well. So I have the mini bands positioned across my pegs here. And we'll still walk in the middle as we normally would. So you can see there's a lot more slack coming out from the bottom part of the movement. So there's not going to be a lot of tension until I'm at the top part of the thrust, the top part of the movement. Everything stays the same with how I set up. I'm just going to watch how I position the bands, where they're going to have that straight pull from the top part of the movement. And I'll adjust my hands accordingly so my hands aren't going to be on top of the bands. So now from the top of the thrust, we can see that the bands have full tension at the top. These bands are 12 inches. They can be twice as long as they are. As we lower back down from the bottom part of that hinge, we lose that tension at the top, full tension. Bottom, we lose a bit of that tension.